Welcome to Inside Gaming, I'm Brian. It's the Weekend Roundup. Lots of video game companies have been voicing support for Black Lives Matter in the weeks following the death of George Floyd at the hands of police in Minnesota. His killing has sparked worldwide protests around areas of racial justice, but now an executive at Riot Games is in some hot water, to say the least, after they shared a controversial Facebook post that seemed to kind of minimize Floyd's death. It was weird. Motherboard reports that Ron Johnson, global head of consumer products at Riot, shared an image on Facebook that includes an image of Floyd along with a meme font title saying, "The media and the left have made George Floyd into a martyr, but who was he really?" Oh no. That's when you know it's going to be bad. It then goes into Floyd's criminal history. Johnson added to the post, "This is no reason to condone his killing by the officer at all, which still needs to be investigated as a potential crime. It is a learning opportunity for people and your kids to teach that this type of criminal lifestyle never results in good things happening to you or those around you." We got it, Facebook uncle, we got it. If the darn kids had just not been out running around, they wouldn't have gotten in trouble. To be clear, just before Floyd was killed by the police, they were called to the scene because he'd allegedly passed a fake $20 bill at a convenience store, which doesn't deserve the death penalty. I'm sorry, but Johnson's post, despite what he said, seemed to suggest that Floyd was somehow at least a little responsible for his own death, despite the fact that all the video evidence showed he didn't struggle and a cop put his knee on his neck until he stopped breathing. Those are the facts, dude. Not the best look for a company that has a long history of allegations of a toxic work environment with multiple accusations of sexism and gender discrimination. Oh, and forcing employees into arbitration so that the facts never come out in public. Maybe just sit this one out, Riot. I'm just saying. As for the George Floyd post, Riot told Vice that the sentiment in that image is abhorrent, against our values, and directly counter to our belief that addressing systemic racism requires immediate societal change. While we don't discuss the details of our investigations or their outcomes, we're following our disciplinary process closely and have placed him on leave pending its conclusion. Johnson later resigned. That was announced to the company Thursday night by Riot CEO Niccolo Laurent. ESPN reported that Laurent sent an internal message saying that while we must respect that everyone is entitled to their own political views, they said Johnson exercised really poor judgment here. The CEO went on to say it was insensitive, and in this moment it undermines the commitment we've made to stand against all acts of injustice, racism, prejudice, and hate. It also hinders our ability to create an inclusive environment for our entire community, rioters, players, and partners alike. He added, "Ron understands this and recognizes he will be ineffective as a leader at Riot going forward. As a result, he has resigned effective today." So that's that. Moving on, The Last of Us Part 2 is just around the corner. Reviews are finally in. It's getting a ton of praise from the games media. It currently sits at a 96 on Metacritic. Wow, that's all-time great territory. IGN called it a masterpiece that evolves the gameplay, cinematic storytelling, and rich world design of the original in nearly every way. The Guardian also made an interesting comparison to a game I didn't expect. The reviewer said it reminds me thematically of Shadow of the Colossus, another game about how consuming grief and anger can be. Destructoid said that it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it gives us a lasting glimpse of a unique world that's worth visiting time and time again. Not everybody was a fan though. Vice wrote that it feels complacent yet also preoccupied with its predecessor, adding, "It sets out to surpass its predecessor, but the only meaningful contrast between them is in its even more oppressive bleakness and violence. It digs two graves, fills them with blood, and then just f***ing wallows in them." Wow. Also, I looked them up. Kotaku, Polygon, Ars Technica also gave middling or negative reviews, but they don't give scores, so I guess those didn't affect its overall review scores. Otherwise, you think it wouldn't be a 96. Anyway, you'll be able to decide for yourself soon. It is out June 19th. It looks like the UK government is officially going to take a very hard look at loot boxes. The Guardian reports this past week, the government launched a call for evidence to help figure out whether to reclassify video games with loot boxes as gambling. gambling products. That would be huge. The particular agency doing this is the Department for Digital, Culture, Media, and Sport. Now, currently, loot boxes not covered by existing gambling legislation in the UK because they have found that the items won weren't considered to have monetary value. But last year, a DMCS select committee heard evidence that the stuff you win from loot boxes can be exchanged for cash on third-party websites. They said that their use could, quote, facilitate profiting from problem gamblers. That committee later issued a report saying they should be considered gambling products, so we will see what happens. We've already seen Belgium and the Netherlands take similar steps. Obviously, the UK is a bigger market. Moving on, apparently all the renewed interest in video games, thanks to the pandemic, has not helped GameStop. It's so sad when bad things happen to bad companies. Not y'all who work at GameStop. Y'all rule. I'm talking about the suits at GameStop. The struggling retailer announced another bad quarter of earnings despite trying as best it could to keep its stores open and endangering its staff and customers. You might even remember in some areas like Massachusetts, they were forced to close after straight up disobeying lockdown orders. Well, none of it worked. For the months of February, March, and April, GameStop's total revenues for the quarter down 34% to $1.02 billion, net losses of $165 million. GameStop said that the shutdowns affected about 75% of its more than 1,800 stores internationally and all 3,526 of its US stores throughout the months of March and April. Of course, they started reopening in late April. By the end of last month, about 85% of its US stores and 90% of its international ones had reopened in some capacity. Premier League football returns June 17th, and they are partnering with EA Sports to bring back fans. Well, fake fans. Obviously, they're not playing in front of real fans due to the ongoing coronavirus, but EA Sports is helping to implement crowd noises and reactions into the match footage on TV. Maybe they can have the players open some loot boxes too while they're at it. Just bust open some card packs or something. That would be very EA. In a blog post from Sky Sports, they said Sky Sports, in association with EA Sports FIFA, created bespoke and team-specific crowd noises and chants to replicate the vibrant atmosphere of Premier League clashes so fans don't miss out on the noise that goes with the action. I thought Saturday Night Live should have done that too. Just put in a laugh track, because Weekend Update sounded so weird with nobody laughing. It just sounded like they were bombing constantly. Also, WrestleMania, just put in fake crowds. Vince, I know you know how to do this. Anyway, time for a 5-second review. I used to think Joel looked like me. Now I really think he looks like me. All right, let's talk about all the games coming out next week. First up, Desperados 3 is a story-driven, hardcore, tactical stealth game. Yeah, set in a ruthless Wild West scenario. You gotta play smart if you want to succeed. In this prequel to the beloved classic Desperados, Wanted Dead or Alive, John Cooper will join forces with the runaway bride Kate, the shady hitman Doc McCoy. Y'all are stealing some names here, I feel like. The giant trapper Hector, and Isabel, a mysterious lady from New Orleans. On Cooper's quest for redemption, his adventures lead him and his gang from rural towns over swamps and riverbanks, and finally to a dramatic showdown worthy of Wild West legends. I'm surprised they didn't name him Riot Merp or something. It comes to PC, PS4, Xbox One, June 16th. Disintegration is a sci-fi first-person shooter with RTS elements. Pilot a heavily weaponized grab cycle while commanding your troops on the ground as you battle through a thrilling single-player campaign and in frenetic PvP multiplayer. Set in near future on Earth, the only hope for human survival is through integration, a process developed to preserve human brains in robots. You play as Romer Scholl, a former grav cycle pilot in command of a small resistance force, still grasping onto the fading memories of their human lives. With domineering Rayon forces set on eliminating the final remnants of human society, it's up to Romer and his crew of outlaws to fight back and reboot humanity. It comes to PC, PS4, and Xbox One, June 16th. Next up, Elder Scrolls Online. Not a new game at all. You probably know what it is. It's an MMORPG. Remember those? Those are fun. Remember wasting years of your life to those? I certainly do. It's set, of course, in the Elder Scrolls universe to good game. It's been out on other platforms, but now it comes to Stadia. Not a moment too soon, June 16th. Summer in Mara is a summer adventure with farming, crafting, and exploring mechanics set in a tropical archipelago. Yeah. Summer in Mara is a single-player experience in a calm and relaxing environment with a handmade look and an exciting narrative. You will be Koa, a little adventurer girl who wants to explore the world that surrounds her. You'll have to take care of your own island, harvest your own crops, this all sounds very familiar, create new tools and buildings, and sail with your boat to discover new islands and secrets. It comes to the PC and Switch June 16th. Next up, Pokemon Sword and Shield, the Island of Armor expansion. The first new adventure from the expansion pass will take place on the Isle of Armor, an island of the Galar region. The Isle of Armor is full of environments not seen in Galar before. You'll find wave-swept beaches, forests, bogs, caves, and sand dunes. I wonder if there's some spice you can mine. There are also plenty of Pokemon that makes this island their home, living freely amid the lush nature. That is, of course, until you capture and enslave them. The island is home to a dojo for Pokemon battles. You and your Pokemon will train hard to become even stronger under Mustard, the trainer who is the master of this dojo. He also killed Professor Plum in the library with the candlestick. It comes to Switch June 17th. Best Friend Forever is the world's first simulation game to combine pet care and dating, just not at the same time. Yeah, you don't want to do that. That's illegal. Train, pat, and play with your very own dog to form a bond that will last the ages. That's called Nintendogs. With your four-legged companion by your side, I assume you take it to the dog part and try to pick up people. Yes, you meet, woo, and cherish the many cuties of Rainbow Bay's thriving singles scene. It comes to PC and Switch June 18th. Next up, Waking, combining third-person action and guided meditation. Waking is an emotional adventure through your dying mind. Jesus, that got dark. Battle the forces of oblivion, conjure the memories of loved ones, and join them in the fight for your life. It comes to PC and Xbox One June 18th. Next up, Burnout Paradise Remastered. The franchise comes to the Switch for the first time. That's nice. Make action your middle name, Brian Action Gar, as you rule the open streets of Paradise City. In Burnout Paradise Remastered, test the limits of skill and endurance as you push the boundaries of speed itself, hurtle through hectic downtown avenues to wild mountain roads, smash through traffic, wreck your opponents, use the open city to find shortcuts, leave your friends in the dust and define your route to victory, or crash out in spectacular and devastating effect. It's packed with 8 pieces of extra content, 130 plus vehicles, new areas to explore like Big Surf Island, and hundreds of online challenges. It's out for Switch June 19th. The Coma 2 Vicious Sisters is a Korean survival horror adventure. Ooh, they make some really twisted movies. Venture from your deserted school to survive the horrors of the night, explore the surrounding Shewa district, and uncover the Shadow Realm's dark secrets. Use everything at your disposal to avoid a demoness hell-bent on killing you. Insert your own joke there. It comes to PS4 and Switch June 19th. Last up, we got a big one. You know, we already talked about it. Last of Us 2, almost here. 5 years after their dangerous journey across the post-pandemic United States, Ellie and Joel have settled down in Jackson, Wyoming. They're living among a thriving community of survivors that's allowed them peace and stability despite the constant threat of the infected and other more desperate survivors. But when a violent event disrupts that peace, Ellie embarks on a relentless journey to carry out justice and find closure. As she hunts those responsible, she's confronted with the devastating physical and emotional repercussions of her action. Experience the escalating moral conflicts created by Ellie's relentless pursuit of vengeance. The cycle of violence left in her wake will challenge your notions of right versus wrong, good versus evil, hero versus villain, cat versus dogs, Pokemon versus Digimon. It's all in there. Just kidding. New and evolved gameplay systems deliver on the life or death stakes of Ellie's journey through the hostile world. Feel her desperate struggle for survival through improved features such as high-intensity melee combat, fluid movement, dynamic stealth, a broad variety of weapons, crafting items, skills, and upgrades allows you to personalize Ellie's capabilities to your playstyle. It comes to the PS4 June 19th. Guys, that's all the news we've got for you this week. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're having a great weekend. Take care. We'll see you soon. But yeah, even games that are extremely political in content seem to market themselves as no politics here, none at all. Far Cry 5, just as one many examples. And side note, yeah, we realize it's fucked up to call the death of a black man a political issue. It's so much more than that, but the reality is